and welcome to the Goldenrod Podcast. I'm Ben. As always, I'm joined by fellow Pokemon enthusiast Conor to bring you some of the latest and greatest Pokemon news and a few laughs along the way. This week, we're talking about Game Freak advertising 37 job roles and speculating on what it might mean for future Pokemon releases. We're also discussing the Pokemon Trainer Tour, a heartfelt video series following young Pokemon TCG players as they attempt to up their game. And finally, we're returning to our legendary Pokemon ranking after we ran out of time last week because there's too many legendaries. As always, if you're listening on the podcast platform of your choice, you can jump to a topic using the timestamps in the description below.
Can they? Can they, Ben?
Yeah, no, they always can. They always can if they're listening on anything but YouTube. To the point where I probably just need to put it in the comments, don't I?
Oh, right. I forget that you do upload them to Acast, and I need to actually just copy and paste them over.
Do you wonder why? Did you wonder why I was sending them across in Discord, like the timestamps?
Yeah, well, actually, it wasn't a case of I wondered why you were doing it. I wondered why you stopped.
Oh, yeah.
Because I've been sat there going like, oh, well, I guess Ben hasn't done them this week. I guess Ben just hasn't done them. He hates you guys. Well, but apparently it's my fault. Okay.
It'd be interesting to know, actually, if obviously the YouTube community want the timestamps. Be interesting to know from podcast listeners if they actually care about the timestamps. Maybe we're pushing them towards the wrong community. I don't know, because we've never heard anybody say anything about them on the podcast side.
Because the thing is, I spend a good couple of hours editing these podcasts each week. Like, you send me the video, I do the audio and stuff like that, and do final cleanups and mix it all together. And I'll be fair. Like, I've got most of that automated now. I click a couple of buttons, and most of my time is just waiting for it to render out. Unless we do a tier list video. Those take a little bit more work, or unless there's a flub or something, like a serious one. I've stopped editing out all the flubs and trying to speed up the podcast. Good. We just leave most of it in now, unless we make a major mistake and like I have to get up and let the dog out or something silly. We just leave it as is. But okay, I'll look into that and try and sort the timestamps out from now on. Apparently, it's my fault. Just been blaming you this whole time.
No, to be fair, it's my fault for stopping doing it. It's just your fault when I send them across and you don't do anything with them.
That's never happened.
No. To be fair, there was somebody in the comments, I can't remember, it might have been Tony, I don't know, who basically said, oh no, the timestamp thing is just like a running gag at this point. It's like they're never in the description.
I did see one comment that said, I've done the timestamps for you. 0.01 seconds. Enjoy the podcast.
Yes, brilliant. Actually, brilliant. See, that's why I love the community and people commenting. It's absolutely fantastic. Let's move on to, speaking of community, let's move on to a question that we've had courtesy of Tony, who, after watching some gameplay of Baldurs Gate 3, they've asked if they think this kind of overview, open field, turn-based battling system is the direction Pokemon is going for in its main series games. And they go on to say they've watched it and it reminded them a little of Pokemon Conquest and games like Unite as well. I'm getting the feeling that this is something Pokemon or Game Freak is moving towards, and would love to hear your thoughts on the potential and possibility.
It's an interesting thought. So I've played a lot of Baldur's Gate 3. I think I'm like 60 hours in or something, which is actually not a lot compared to a lot of people who have played that game. The battle system is not something I could see directly translating to Pokemon. It kind of makes sense. So you use a bunch of different characters and then they have a turn order. And the turn order goes across the top of the screen. You go down the line and you use, basically, because I play on controller, you use a rotary system. So you click your button in, swivel around into your rotary system, see what move you want to use, who you want to use it against, use your movement and things like that. It's a little bit more advanced than picking a move in Pokemon. I don't know if Pokemon would implement movement. And without the movement, I don't see that kind of gameplay working too well. So that's the big thing, is with Legends Arceus, we got movement of the character during battles. Do we think that they would introduce movement to the Pokemon? And if they do, would that movement be turn-based, as in you can move so far as a character? That's adding a whole new stat. Like, would each Pokemon be able to move a different amount?
So I was going to suggest using the speed stat. So you've still got the speed stat, but that equates to how far you can move. But I guess the question I've got, because I haven't played Baldur's Gate 3, I've only seen a couple of minutes of the gameplay fighting mechanics online. So is it turn-based, as in, like, the battle starts and everyone is like, okay, your turn 1, your turn 2, your turn 3, or is there kind of a slider where, depending on your character's stats, they can potentially move faster than the enemy or someone else?
So it's D&D based. So at the start of combat, combat is initiated and everybody rolls initiative. So your faster characters, those with a higher initiative, those with higher dex and things like that, are more likely to go first, but are not guaranteed because it's all based off the roll. So once the combat starts, your initiative order is then set. There's no way to move up and down the initiative order, but there are ways to make people miss their turn, for instance. Okay.
So I think then that the speed stat, if we applied this to Pokemon, the speed stat would be used to initiate that turn order of, okay, you've got the high stat, therefore you go first. You've got the slowest speed stat, therefore you go last. What you could do in terms of if they went with a movement style of, okay, how far this Pokemon can move, maybe you base it off the weight. So, you know, if they are heavier, they can't move as far. If they're lighter, they can move further.
It's a cool idea, but here's where that becomes very complicated, because you've then got moves that make contact. So that's already a statistic within the game. So we have moves that make contact. It's affected by things like Spiky Shield, for instance, and stuff like that. So now you've got characters or Pokemon that have all contact-based moves that can be slow. And if they go up against a special attacking Pikachu, for instance, with Thunderbolt and other moves that are at a distance, suddenly this Pikachu can run away, keep attacking you from a distance, and you can never catch up to it. It completely warps the game of Pokemon to do it that way, and it's not... You would literally have to rethink how Pokemon is. So I would never, ever see it happening in a mainline game. And I think Legends Arceus is probably the closest we're getting to anything like that, where they've mixed up the turn order, they've introduced multiple Pokemon battling. Now, don't get me wrong, Legends Z2A, they could improve that further in ways I can't possibly imagine. But to add movement into it seems like it could get very complicated very quickly.
Yeah, it like, I enjoy the idea of Pokemon being able to move around in a battle. As someone that has played,
I agree.
Pokken, like, it works, but that's a different style of gameplay. That is a real-time fighting mechanic where movement is more around the dodging or closing on your opponent. It suddenly becomes quite complicated to have Pokemon being able to move, but the battle mechanics aren't in real time. They're still in turn-based. I don't quite see how that can work, unfortunately. I think that if you did go with, you know, if Game Freak or it's something else within the, you know, another company decided to make a Pokemon game that was similar to Baldur's Gate 3, it feels like it would have to be built from the ground up, and they would have to do what Legends Arceus did of, okay, these are some of the elements that we've had before, but now we're going to do a fresh twist on it, to the point where some of those haven't even carried over to Scarlet and Violet. And imagine that is how we would have to do this. Now, I would be very interested in playing something like that, though. Just from what I've seen, it looks really interesting. And again, it's a fresh way to play a Pokemon game. Now, I know I know we've got the comparison in there about Pokemon Conquest, but my understanding of Conquest, I've never played it, but I've only seen it, is Conquest is more like Final
Fantasy Tactics, yeah.
Yeah. So again, that's another one that's like similar, but again, is a completely different style on playing Pokemon. So I'm all for more of these what's the word I'm looking for? Just trying new things.
Yeah, I think the issue you've got is the further we get away from what people know as the Pokemon gameplay loop, the harder it is to sell it because it becomes a spin-off game.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think that's part of the problem why so many spin-offs haven't had a sequel. Because they just don't hit the same sales figures as the mainline games, and it's hard to justify a sequel when for most gaming franchises, sequels typically go down in sales because obviously you're not going to buy the second one if you've not played, enjoyed, and lightly completed the first one. So it's a case of diminishing returns. So unfortunately, what would I love to see this? Yes. Do I think I'll ever see anything like this? I don't think I will.
No, I think it's a little bit much to ask, especially Baldur's Gate is a weird one to compare any gaming franchise to because Baldur's Gate 3 is an anomaly. Should it be? That's a different question, but it is an anomaly. It was a massive punt. It took so much money to produce. It took so much time to produce, and nobody expected it to make its money back. Game Freak and Nintendo are never making that gamble. We've seen the state Pokemon games are released in. They're not taking a gamble on, okay, let's take 9 years to develop a game and hope it goes well in this completely new style. It's just not going to happen.
No, and I'd imagine with building something like that, the difficulty, I think, of porting over current assets and character models, I can't see that meshing well with this kind of design. It could work, but I think it would have to be built from the ground up, and it just, going back to your point, building something from the ground up, very expensive and time consuming, and it's a risk.
Yeah.
A shame though. But if you've got a comment or question or a topic, you can reach us by leaving a comment on our podcast on YouTube, by emailing goldenrodpod@gmail.com, by leaving it on our Discord channel, or by using the hashtag goldenrodpod on Twitter. Speaking of, game development, so Pokemon developer Game Freak is seeking new talent for future projects. So the developer is holding a new recruitment campaign, started on the 30th of August. Apparently some open positions don't require experience in the game industry, but other roles require at least 3 years of relevant work experience. I'm not going to go through the entire list because there's like 30 odd, but have you got the list in front of you? It might be worthwhile if we just go down the ones that kind of stand out to us.
Yeah, so we got a planner just planner, planner scenarios, setting creator, sound planner. Ooh, okay. Pokemon series development is what that's highlighted as. Character model, effects, background model, cutscenes, section director, lighting artist, human motion, Pokemon models, 2D art designer on the backgrounds, 2D art designer for the Pokemon series, project manager, assistant project manager, game programmer for communication systems, game programmer for characters, game programmer for events, UI programmer, communication game programmer, Unity engineer.
Oh, so okay. That's weird because as far as we're aware, Pokemon doesn't do Unity outside of BDSP, right?
I think maybe Unity.
Okay.
Animation programmer, infrastructure engineer, information systems, window infrastructure engineer, R&D programmer for communication systems, animation, machine learning engineer, graphics systems, battle systems, libraries, technical artist for procedural, technical artist for tools, HR and recruitment, IT help desk.
There's a few that stood out to me there that I didn't even notice before. So for game programmer, the characters, events, and UI programmer, it says new IP next to it.
Oh, does it? New intellectual
it does say new
IP.
Property, yeah.
Do we think that's blue?
Potentially, because what we have to remember, folks, is Game Freak, while it's well known for Pokemon, it does like to dabble every now and again in other games. And we previously reported, like a year ago maybe, that they came out with a single still from this Project Bloom game that they are working on. It'd be quite interesting to know how many of these are for Pokemon, how many of these are for other games that are or might one day be in development. Obviously, we know some of them are Pokemon, like Pokemon models. Like that's not a new IP. That's working on, what we know. There's a couple of others there. Windows Infrastructure Engineer. So there's two ways to look at that. Either, Windows computer for, Windows software because they're in the office and they work on Windows machines. Or the other way to look at it is, are they potentially going to bring some games to Steam or some kind of other library in the future? Now, that would be interesting, considering for the longest time... In fact, I don't know if we've ever had Pokemon games on anything other than Nintendo-owned, or mobiles, but Nintendo-owned hardware. Unless I'm completely...
An infrastructure engineer, they are professionals who design, build, deploy, and maintain the company's IT infrastructure.
Oh, that's dumb. Okay, so there we go. That's broken that down. We're not, unfortunately, getting anything. For a second, I did think, is Unite potentially coming to Windows, but to Steam? But then I suddenly realized, oh wait, no, because it's not done by Game Freak. It's done by Tencent, isn't it? So, yeah. Mm-hmm. So we're not getting that. But there are a few others, okay, that did jump out to me. So cutscenes first off the bat, because of the issues that we had with cutscenes in Sword and Shield, and then it kind of fixed a load of them for Scarlet and Violet. Like, we got quite a few cutscenes. There wasn't any in some for Sword and Shield. It was just those stills, remember? Like Leon at the top and talking with Rose, but it's not played out.
Yeah, that was a thing.
Yeah. So whether or not they just need to bring in more people to help them with what they're doing. I mean, for all we know, this is crunch time for Pokemon Legends Z to A before an announcement. And it's like, right, we need people in as soon as possible to help us to manage some of these things. That's a possibility.
You don't usually bring on
new people
not actually knowing how the gaming industry fully works. My assumption would be that you don't usually bring people onto a project so late in the game unless they already have massive amounts of knowledge that you just don't.
Yeah.
So for instance, it's well known that I think it's Gold and Silver, I forget the name, but they brought in a head engineer from Nintendo to come and basically make the game smaller and compress it.
Yeah.
So that kind of thing, they can go, yeah, you can have a look at it and work it out. But when you're talking about a game of this level in this day and age, there's so much code to go through that by the time you've brought someone up to speed, you've lost all the time that you would have had by just not having them there.
Yeah, my understanding of crunch is you don't bring in extra people, you just make people work longer hours and more days. Hence why it's called a crunch, to get it over the line. I mean, there is an argument that this has nothing to do with Legends Z to A, and this is for Generation 10, what comes after. But, I mean, we still don't know exactly when Legends Z to A is being released in 2025. Right?
I mean, we have assumed it's early.
We have. It could still be November. It could still be, let's stick with November. We'll just take a year off. Because we're that confident in Legends Z to A, and it needs time to cook and get better and everything. There's a possibility that these people are being brought in and still have over a year to work on the game. I mean, this, in my opinion, just from the limited information we have, bodes well. We know that the Game Freak typically likes to work with smaller teams and we have previously spoke about how many employees it has, and I don't know that off the top of my head, but 30 odd new employees. It's a huge jump in the number of people, which I'm hoping leads to a better quality game.
So it's interesting. Some open positions don't require previous experience in the games industry, and other roles will require at least 3 years of relevant work experience. So,
which I can understand because, like, 2D art designer background.
Yeah.
Then for me, they in my head with limited gaming industry knowledge implies to me that doesn't matter if you worked in the gaming industry. Can you draw? Can you use the software? Like, okay, that's fine. As long as you do that, we can then get it into the game somehow.
My question would be, and unfortunately this article doesn't answer it, are these new positions? Or are they having to fill spaces from a mass exodus?
That is an interesting question, and it hadn't even crossed my mind, but it is, of course, a possibility. And imagine, though, if there had been 30 odd people leaving en masse, we'd know about. But then, actually, what it might just be is over the last, 5 years, they've lost 30 odd people, which is only six a year, which isn't that high, isn't a number you would report on. So maybe it is just over time they've bled a couple of employees and gone, right, now's the time that we should probably start to think about bringing some more people in.
Yeah. I mean, again, as well, only, 3 of these specifically state they are for Pokemon, 3 or 4. Obviously, Pokemon models.
Mm-hmm.
The rest of them, we've just seen Game Freak launch Pandland.
Yeah.
Which was their, like, what did you say? It was like
Pokemon Quest into sport.
Yeah. So we know they are working on other things. Maybe these are just people being brought in for the next mobile release, other than those 4 engineers that they need.
Perhaps. And that's the annoying thing. It'll be out. I'm sure somebody could probably do a deep dive on this in terms of, okay, I'm going to look back at whatever, the Japanese equivalent of LinkedIn is and find, like, okay, previous people that used to work as, work in Game Freak on Pokemon models, and okay, when did they leave? Okay, it's probably replacing them. Which ones didn't exist, maybe, or which ones do exist and people haven't left? There's probably someone out there that could do a proper deep dive on this to figure it out. That would be a lot of legwork, though. And unfortunately, I guess the point I'm getting at here is, will this make a difference? We probably won't know until the next game comes out and we go, been a bit of a jump in quality.
My favorite part of this is still the 2 contractor positions, the Unity engineer and the animation programmer, that are both being assigned to the research and development department.
Mm-hmm.
So contractors being brought in basically means, like, they're not hired, they're not part of the staff, they are just here to do a job and then will be sent on their way. I love the idea of just, like, can somebody just teach us how to use Unity and how to make it look good, please? How do we do this?
Definitely. And I think part of that learning might have come as a result of the issues that they had connecting BDSP with Pokemon Home. Was it BDSP with Pokemon Home? Although there's several games that have apparently had issues connecting with Home.
BDSP and Pokemon Home shouldn't have been an issue because it wasn't Game Freak.
Oh, because they're both... No,
they're both
that's right.
Developed by the same company, aren't they?
Both done by Ilka, yeah. But then Unity linking in with whatever Game Freak uses for their Pokemon games to make, which is a custom engine, as far as we're aware. So maybe that's where this has come from, of this Unity engineer going, listen, instead of us launching the game and then going, oh, how do we link these games up? And it takes forever. Maybe this is them trying to get on the forefront and go, this is the new game that we're releasing on this date. It needs to be able to connect with, Pokemon Home by X date.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why. Maybe that's what that is. A few of the other ones that stood out to me is R&D programmer. So for battle systems, for graphics, for animation. Like, I'm not sure what an R&D I'm assuming R&D means research and development. So I'd imagine, does that mean that they go away, do the research, and then have the knowledge in order to program in or improve on things?
I don't imagine so. I'm gonna Google it. We'll see. Because Google is an amazing thing.
We should use it more often.
Um,
Moments of truth.
we called God love. Oh no, it's Cora.
Oh, I don't want Cora. Oh, I hate Cora. Oh, no. It's terrible. It's a nightmare.
An R&D team usually consists of software developers too, but regular developers who aren't part of R&D are meant to work on specific projects. They can still design something new and generic and put it into the common code base for others to profit from, but it'll be more or less to be directly paid by a customer. The goal is to fulfill a concrete project's requirements and release a product. R&D, on the other hand, is an investment from the software vendor's side. Whether it is a department, a person, or a time slot does not matter. No customer orders it or pays for it directly. It's a place meant for proactive development to ease or improve development within all projects. Solutions developed here may still have a specific requirement in mind, but they are usually abstract in a way that they can be used in other project contexts too.
Oh, so for some of these jobs,
last bit, they often target build processes, testing, data security, high availability, coding standards, extensibility, maintainability, and monitoring. There you go.
Some of those are definitely things that Game Freak needs to improve on. So maybe that's what this is. That maybe this is a case of, okay, we've been doing this on shoestring and just tape and just trying to make it work for so long that maybe let's try and get on the forefront and fix some of the reoccurring issues, perhaps. I mean, regardless of what the outcome of this is and what it means, the fact that Game Freak are willing to, pay, the salaries of 30 odd people, moving forward, surely can only be a good sign that they are willing to invest in their team, which hopefully does lead to, better improvements moving forward.
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed indeed. Should we move on to the Pokemon Trainer Tour?
Aye. I'm kind of interested in this.
So, I'm not sure when it was released, by the way, but there is a YouTube series that's ongoing, but also an Amazon Prime series that has all 8 episodes already released. It's also available on Roku, but I don't know how many of those episodes are live yet. But Pokemon Trainer Tour is an ongoing series that follows 2... I want to say PokeTubers. They are people that started on YouTube with Pokemon TCG content, and they go around visiting younger people who are interested in the Pokemon TCG game to find out more about their history, their hobbies, and give them more knowledge in order to up their Pokemon trading card game experience. I've only watched episode 1. Called Creative Evolution, that follows 15-year-old Dory, who again wants to, improve her TCG skills and grow closer to her cousin Alex. So, the hosts come in, they meet her, they talk to her about her life history. They then basically teach her about the Pokemon trading card game and how you play it. And then this episode ended with a battle between Dory and Alex with the hosts, so Megan Camarina and Andrew Mahone, narrating the battle and showing them how they play and everything else like that. And then at the end, the battle wraps up. They talk about what they've learned, and then they get a load of Pokemon merchandise, which I was very jealous of because there is a lot of Pokemon merchandise. It's a very heartfelt little episode. Would I be interested in seeing all 8? Probably not. I think that 1 was enough for me to get an understanding. However, this one's only about 18 minutes long, I think, maybe 16. The later ones at Amazon Prime that you can actually see, they go up to, the last one's 37 minutes. So I'm wondering if maybe that one is let's take this up and coming poker TCG player to a competition, maybe. Now that'd be something I'm interested in.
So I'd be interested to I'm going to have a quick look on. So what's it called? Pokemon
Trainer Tour.
Trainer Tour. Okay. Let's have
What are you looking on?
I'm looking on Prime.
Have a look on.
Because that's what I have access to.
Oh.
Stelios, a 29-year-old Pokemon trading card game player and streamer who's looking to take his game into the real world. Okay, so that's a little bit more interesting, because my biggest worry was going to be, is it all going to be kid-focused? Is it all going to be... Do you know those, like, home redesign shows? And it's... it's all feel-good, and it's all happy, and it's all wonderful, and it's like, can we just, like, show me something, like, people actually living their lives and playing the games? We've got Dex, a 34-year-old musician and Pokemon trading card game player, diagnosed with a life-threatening disease. Okay.
Ooh.
Arata, a tenacious 14-year-old who's been wrestling with the Pokemon trading card game. Okay.
Wants to earn their siblings' respect. Ooh. Okay.
Dara, a busy mum of 3 who wants to play the Pokemon trading card game with her eldest son. That's kind of cool.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah.
I don't know how anybody gets on this show. Betty, an attorney who's struggling with playing the Pokemon trading card game with her fiance Sam, a top-level TCG player. Okay, that's quite funny.
Whoa! Okay,
come on,
that's cool.
Sam, sort it out. Be a better coach. Sephra, a 28-year-old freelance artist who's approaching a crossroads in her life and is hoping that decision-making in the Pokemon trading card game will help her gain the confidence to make some big decisions in her life. Okay.
What?
Not sure about that one.
No.
And then Ryan, a children's animator who recently moved and is having difficulty making new friends. Aww.
Oh.
That's what I mean. A lot of this feels a little bit saccharine.
Yeah.
But I like Andrew Mahone. That's where I found this. Tricky Jim is a YouTuber who I've followed for a long time, so I'd be interested in checking it out at least.
I think from what I watched of episode 1, it's definitely something that I, as an adult, I could probably watch 1 or 2 and go, I've seen enough. I think for children, though, this would be really inspiring. And it's that way to kind of spread heartfelt messages and, do it in a way that actually, okay, we're going to trick you into watching this nice story by pulling on the heartstrings of Pokemon because you like Pokemon TCG. I can imagine my daughter watching all 8 of these and absolutely loving it. So I think there is an audience for this. But as with any Pokemon online content, we typically get 1 season and that's it.
That's kind of it.
So this could be a one and done, which is fine with me. I think that works. Something new, something different, and it's just an opportunity to showcase the TCG as well, which is always nice.
I think whether I'll enjoy it or not will come a lot down to the editing style and how much they play up the sob story. Now, these are real people, and I feel sorry for anything they're going through, but it's like I can't watch things like, well, it used to be X Factor.
Yeah.
Because it's not about the singing anymore. It's now just about, my granddad died, and he's looking down on me to this day, and I love him, and he liked this song. Yeah. Shut up. Nobody cares. I mean, people do care, and they get votes, and that's why they do it. But
yeah,
what I'm saying is, if you're going to make a show about TCG, make a show about TCG.
Yeah.
And obviously, what I'm saying is that TCG has a real impact on people's lives, and it does bring people together in interesting ways from lots of different communities. And there is a story to tell there. I just worry that they've gone, okay, let's manufacture this a little bit. And we're going to say that it's going to have this real big impact on your life that it's just not.
So from the first episode I saw, and what I saw of it, which is probably about 10 minutes worth of it, so there wasn't anything about... TCG was seen as the way to kind of bring people together. It wasn't highlighted as, oh, this is the best thing ever, this is amazing. It was just that tool that they could use to connect people. As for the sob story, there wasn't much of that in episode 1. Don't get me wrong, it was touched on the whole history, the history of Dory, of Basically, she comes from a different country. She was adopted by a mum who adopted her on Christmas Eve and brought her over to the US of A. So there is that sub story element. But what I'm quite glad about is there's like a minute of that, and then it's like done, right, onto the TCG. And talking about the TCG, I think if you already know how to play the TCG, you're not going to learn anything from this. Because some of the things that they were doing, like they started with, oh, so you know what? If you're on turn 1 and it's your go first, you can't attack. Okay, I already know that. That's like rule 1, isn't it? So I don't think you're going to learn a lot from it, unfortunately. But I still think there is a place for this for the younger Pokemon TCG demographic.
Yeah, and we completely forget sometimes that this is a franchise for children, guys. I know we're all in our mid-30s, and we're like, no, it's mine. I've had it since childhood. It's still mine. But
yeah,
definitely, it ain't about you.
It's not. It's not. Let's move on to the legendary Pokemon tier list for generations 6 through 9, correct?
Yes, you're going to have to give me some time to set up, though, because I forgot we were doing this, so we'll be back in a minute. Pow! We're back, and there it is. You can see your full tier list hasn't changed from last time, because we told you we'd be back, and we're back. Start with Gen 6. There was a few less legendaries in Gen 6.
It started to go a little bit quiet, didn't it, compared to Gen 4 and Gen 5, which seemed to throw out legendaries all over the place.
Looking at it, we've just got the main box art legendaries.
No, we've got Zygarde as well. Zygarde's a...
Well, Zygarde's a box art legendary who never got his box. That's not his fault.
Yes. Yeah, because Diancie's mythical, right?
Diancie's mythical, Hoopa's mythical, Volcanian's mythical.
Wow, so we only have...
Magearna would be the other one who is also mythical. Oh, no, wait, they've got Magearna in Sun and Moon. Oh, yeah, no, Magearna is Sun and Moon because it's linked with Lily's family. Yes. I always think...
Is he?
I always think... No, wait, because Magearna was given to the King of Alola, wasn't it?
Oh, now I've got to look this up.
Sorry, the King of Kalos. I thought it was given to the Colossean royal family.
It's only available in Sun and Moon, Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon. I swear I got this in Oras or... Yeah. What? Okay, I'm really confused. I thought I got that in Gen 6. I have this, like, memory of being in... yeah, I have just this memory of having that Pokemon in Gen 6, but apparently not. Great.
Yeah, I weirdly enough... Because, again, I'm sure it's in its lore somewhere that it's connected to the Colossean royal family.
Yeah.
Am I wrong? I might be wrong, but
I think we're both wrong, unfortunately, and this is a Gen 7 Pokemon, bizarrely. Right, let's start then with Xerneas. So the first, and I think only pure fairy legendary outside of maybe Zacian and Zamazenta, but I think Zacian you always have it the sword with it anyway.
Yeah,
becomes fairy steel. But Xerneas. Now, I have a major soft spot for this because of its active mode when it's got all the shiny antlers and everything, and it just looks so majestic and beautiful. I'm not a fan of its neutral mode. I dislike that design, but the active mode I really like. It is a little bit of a busted Pokemon being, pure fairy.
Pure fairy isn't the reason it's busted.
It's the Geomancy?
Geomancy White Herb is the reason it's busted. This thing's ridiculous and destroyed a format.
Yeah. For me, because of that, maybe this is a little bit of nostalgia for Gen 6 because it's where I came back into Pokemon, so feel free to shoot me down. But I think it's like a low S tier. Lower than Giratina, but low S tier.
So I would have given it an A tier.
Okay.
Possibly pushing towards an S. So yes, on that borderline. But I would argue that it should be knocked down to B. Because you're right.
What?
The active form looks amazing. But you don't
Yeah.
get to have the active form, do you?
No, I know, and this is what's always annoyed me. Like, how do you even get the active form?
You don't.
I don't know.
You fight it once,
what?
and then it disappears. You don't get the active form. It's not for you.
Oh, I'm a little bit disappointed. It's so disappointed.
And that's
in
why
that.
it's a B tier.
Oh, okay, fair enough. Yeah, I'm not going to argue that. It is really annoying that a neutral mode is just so boring. Also, should have been Grass Fairy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Should have been Grass Fairy. And the reason why brings us on to Yveltal, which is a pure, dark and flying type. Why, in a game where you bring up two legendaries that are supposed to be like the yin and yang of one another,
do you not make them
one
both
of
super
them
effective to the other ones, at least one of their types?
Yes, exactly. And something that I hope gets fixed in Legends ZA, but we shall see. But Yveltal is so cool. They really hammered the design of, okay, how do we make some kind of, monster that is the cause of death? Because that's what it is, isn't it? It's the end of all things, right?
Yeah.
One is about life,
it's the
one's
life
about death.
taker kind of thing.
Yeah. And how do you give it that design where, it looks similar to Lucario, Lugia in terms of shape, but then you completely change its design. And you know what? For all our complaints about the fingers on Lugia, the fingers on this Pokemon work.
Yes,
because it's that kind of death grasping at you, which I just love this design. It feels like something that is a predator.
So, yes, I think the Raptor-like features do a lot here, especially the claws on its feet and how they're curved up. I think that does a lot, especially in this artwork. I'm not a big fan of the fingers on the tail. I think that's a little weird. Considering that we know the tail design is only really there to do the Y.
Yeah,
which is a little bit like we could have had this thing look cooler than it does if we didn't try to stick so heavily to the Y design. I think overall it's a cool Pokemon. It doesn't do anything special though.
In its design or
anywhere. It's a little bit better than fine. Like, I'm not saying
so
it's
where are you thinking of putting this?
Oh, I put Xerneas too high.
Yeah, Xerneas is the wrong one. I actually think Xerneas is lower than Yveltal.
I disagree. I think Xerneas is a much better Pokemon than Yveltal. Even with my arbitrary lowering it for its neutral mode, I still think Xerneas is much cooler than Yveltal. I've started saying Yveltal now. Yveltal.
Yes.
There's an L in there that you keep missing.
Oh, yes, I do. I've been getting it wrong for like 10 years. Okay, I'm willing to concede on this one, mainly because as long as they're both in... I don't know, actually. No, I want Yveltal in A. I'm sorry, I want Yveltal in A. Like, I can't see Lugia being an A and Yveltal not being an A, considering they are so similar in so many ways.
Okay,
but then Lugia has a load of lore and history where
and
Yveltal...
there it is. That's the difference for me, is that you've got the lore around it being the trio master of the birds. Like, Yveltal kills everything, and that's kind of cool, but even that's not really explored very much. I think Kalos is going to suffer just because which is weird, because Kalos has some of the deepest lore we've ever had. And the legendaries
doesn't do anything with it.
The legendaries just don't really have much. You consider that at least Xerneas and Yveltal are the source of Mega Evolution. It was their power that was utilized to make the ultimate weapon that fired into space and created Mega Evolution. Why? That's never represented in them or any part of their lore. We don't know anything about them other than one brings life and one brings death.
Yeah. And you know what the annoying thing is?
I think it's B. I'm sorry.
Maybe I'd raise it a little bit if we got to see that in a cinematic. Maybe. Like, the opening intro is like you
The
know,
most.
Yveltal, like Yveltal maybe destroying the world, and then, you know, 3,000 years later, we see Xerneas bringing things to life, and that's the start of the planet, maybe? Like, maybe that would have been, oh, okay, that's pretty cool. Ties into the whole life and death, but does it in a way that's removed from the game. That would have been cool.
What are we saying, A or B?
I would say A, but I think you want to say B. I'm happy to buy it in B because I'm just going on design aesthetics, whereas it needs to be a bit wider than that, unfortunately.
Aye.
Which is exactly why Zygarde also suffers.
Oh, okay.
Because
it hasn't been explored fully yet.
Yeah, and it's a shame, really, because I think Zygarde was in a movie, wasn't it? From what I remember.
Zygarde is a large part of the X and Y series. Squishy, one of the Zygarde cells, becomes a main character, effectively. Joins the main group for a long time in the series.
That's it.
And then we get good Zygarde versus evil Zygarde, and it's all about the end of the world at the end of that series, and Team Flare taking over everything. That show goes hard.
Yeah. So, right. In terms of lore, and in terms of, you know, having something about it in a story element, instantly puts it above Xerneas and Yveltal in that regard. But what about, I mean, if we're talking about the games, like Yveltal and Xerneas aren't in it a lot, but they're in it more than Zygarde. Yeah. Zygarde's barely a footnote in Pokemon X and Y, to the point where do you unlock all the extra stuff? It's not even Gen 6, it's in Gen 7.
That's not Zygarde's fault.
It's not Zygarde's fault, but that doesn't...
But it is still what happened, I agree.
Ranking, unfortunately. Do we add anything for the forms? What's your opinion on the forms? Because I didn't see complete form until like 5 or 6 years.
And Shield, yeah.
Yeah. Like, so where does that fall for you then?
So I think the complete form is very cool. I think it's very, very powerful, and that does raise it up a little bit for me. Plus, it's got a doggo form. It makes no sense that it's got a doggo form, but it's got a doggo form, and that makes me very happy.
Yeah.
Do I think it's cooler than Xerneas and Yveltal?
I don't think it is.
Not base form. Definitely not base form. Base form Zygarde is kind of weird. Let's put it this way. We'll throw them all in B under the proviso that they're definitely... F?
No, I didn't say F. Sorry. I don't know what that was. I did not say F.
You said F.
Straight down to the bottom with you.
I'd say we throw them all in B under the proviso that these are almost definitely all going to get boosted to S tier or close to it as of Z2A.
Oh, yeah. What they honestly, like, I think back to that Giratina battle in Legends Arceus. They could one-up that with this. Like, the fact that it has so many different forms in the cells, and, you know, you beat it at 50% and then you get complete form. I'm all for that, and I completely agree that I think these three are going to get such a glow-up in Legends Z2A.
See, I can half imagine Zygarde being the... So, you know, you had to collect all the Spiritomb wisps?
Oh, yes.
So you go around and you collect all the Zygarde cells, and... when it hits its 20% form, you got to fight the dog. When it hits its 50% form, you got to fight the snake. When it hits its 100% form, then you got this major awesome battle on your hands.
Yeah.
I think that'd be a lot of fun.
I'm looking forward to that as well. Oh my god. Zygarde and Xerneas in a double battle against that. Oh, yes, please. Okay,
on to our first Pokemon that evolves. Our first legendary that evolves. Okay.
Type null.
I like this Pokemon. I like its design. I like its lore. I like what's going on with it. It's not a legendary Pokemon, though, is it?
No, definitely not. I don't understand where this legendary... This feels a bit like, you know, how randomizers put Rotom in the legendary category. And it's like, it's not legendary. That's how this feels to me. The fact that I just don't see how any Pokemon that is in some way created can be legendary. It feels like legendary
Mewtwo.
needs. Ah, you're right.
That being
You're
said,
right.
though, no. That being said,
What's the difference?
Mewtwo has the DNA of Mew, which in itself is a legendary.
Which is
Pokemon.
a legendary.
Whereas
And there's only
Silvally is more along the lines of Porygon. It's more along the lines of. I'm trying to think of other man-made Pokemon now. Porygon's definitely the main one.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's another
Sure,
one.
there's more. Yeah.
I feel like there's
I
one.
can't think of any off the top of
Magearna,
my
there
head.
you go. Oh, Magearna's legendary.
Yeah. Is it?
Well, it's a mythical.
Oh, yeah, we've not gone to that yet. Yeah.
Interesting. Can a man-made Pokemon... Because the thing is as well, like, there's 3 of them.
That was going to be my other point, because Mewtwo, there's only one, correct? Or is there...
That we know, like, the canon is weird.
Yeah.
Because if you watch the movies, then there's distinctly 2 different Mewtwo's, because one's voiced by Dan Green. Well, actually, one's voiced by Dan Green, even though that's clearly a canonical continuation of the one that was not voiced by Dan Green, but they're both male. And then there's a distinctly female-voiced one in the Genesect movie.
Was that? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That's weird.
And then there's one where he's just off in a cloak somewhere.
Oh, right, living his best life. But, okay, maybe this is the way you quantify man-made legendary Pokemon is, can you make more of them? I don't think you could make another Mewtwo. I think that once it destroyed that lab, all that's gone. Whereas Type Null, my understanding is you could create more of them because that lab is still standing. There is still, Type Null and Silvally. You've got quite easy access to them opposed to Mewtwo. Silvally doesn't... Type Null and Silvally don't feel like... when you look at any of these legendary Pokemon, they all have some kind of aspect where it is all-powerful. Type Null and Silvally don't. But there's an argument to be made that it has the ability to shift its typing. The other Pokemon that can do that, Arceus.
Genesect.
Oh, yes. But, does Genesect change its typing or just its move?
I think it's just one move.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, Silvally is supposed to be, if we follow the theory lore of this, it's the Pokemon designed to kill God, basically. It is supposed
pretty legendary to do that.
And that's it. That's what it was designed to do. Is it's the alchemist creating a chimera to take on God. And that's why it has the Arceus system, the Arceus system that helps it change its types and stuff like that. That's why it's normal type. I don't know what to do. Has it had
much? One. No. Has it had much of a glow up in the anime? Did you watch some of the Sun and Moon?
I watched a fair bit of it. I don't think I really got onto the. I skipped a large part of Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon. Mostly the bit where Gladion shows up. I mean, that's cool as well. It's Gladion's signature Pokemon, which means our rival's signature Pokemon is a legendary Pokemon.
Yeah.
That's kind of cool in and of itself. I don't know what to do with it.
This is a strange one for me. Both Type Null and its evolution. I think it's B. I think there's enough lore uniqueness to take it out of C and put it into B.
Yeah.
I think what lets it down for me is its design, but also just the questions around, like, should this be a legendary?
Yeah, that's probably the big thing for me. Like, I don't know what you'd have done else with this design. Like, I even love the helmet that it's got. It's effectively Arceus's ring around its head, and that's some kind of... And that's the thing, these shouldn't be 2 different Pokemon. They're the same Pokemon, just one's got a helmet on. Should be 2 different forms of the same Pokemon. And again, this is where this Pokemon's so weird.
Yeah.
It should be... Like, we got Hoopa unrestrained.
Yeah,
why is Hoopa unrestrained a form, and this is an evolution? Yep. Okay.
It's strange. Yeah, like I say, it's just strange.
It's a cool Pokemon, but it's more confusing than anything else.
Okay. The Tapus.
The Tapos. The Tapus.
Oh, these things are weird.
They are.
When I think of a Alola, and I know these 4 are, the Island Guardians, but their design just doesn't scream Alola to me. Maybe Tapu Koko a bit, but the other 3 just doesn't feel like. Maybe I'm wrong there.
Yeah, I disagree. I think these are very Alola.
Okay.
I keep moving things. Sorry for the motion sickness. Yeah, these are very Alolan to me. I think they have a very native design. Oh my god, I need a. You know what? It's because my map. It's because my
lock it.
Yeah, I have. I've locked my scroll wheel. There you go. Yes, I like them a lot, and it's hard to say that Tapu Koko is the standout one. And I think we can all agree on that. It's a standout in the game, and it's a standout in the anime. It is the Pokemon that Ash beat to win his first championship. And for that, I think it's at least A tier. The rest of them, I can take or leave, really.
It's annoying, really, because they all have, quite, not unique, but, there's not a lot of the same typings for these Pokemon. They are quite unique. But I don't think that's enough to save them, unfortunately. And, I agree that Tapu Koko is the standout one. I mean, in the game, you see it within the first, hour of gameplay, if not sooner. But the rest of them, I think, are just they fill the role that some of the other legendaries fill in previous games of, I've caught one of them, I guess I've got to go and catch them all, like Uxie, Mesprit, and it's such a shame because these Pokemon are definitely higher than that ranking. But for me, Tapu Koko, I still don't think there's enough about Tapu Koko to drag it out to sea for me.
Really?
They all just feel very average.
Wow. See, I wouldn't put any of them lower
what about
than B,
you?
And I'd have put Tapu Koko in A, personally.
Wow. Okay. Okay, Tapu
Koko
goes...
There's an argument for C for Bulu, Fini, and Lele. Because, and this is my problem with them, it is Tapu Koko and friends.
Yes, it is. It is.
So, because of that, I think you could easily argue. In fact, this whole line is full of just the trio Pokemon, isn't it? This whole C tier is just trio Pokemon.
It is.
All right. Let's just put these guys here because fine.
We can put Tapu Koko in B though.
All right.
I think there's enough.
We'll meet in the middle. We'll meet in the middle.
Yeah, I think there's enough to elevate it there. Oh, Cosmog! Okay. I have such a soft spot for this Pokemon. I love its design. I love it. It's useless, but I love it. No, are you kidding me?
No, should have stayed in the bag.
What? No.
Should have stayed in the bag. That's all they had to do.
What?
If it had stayed in the bag, it would have been S tier, but it didn't stay in the bag.
Bad Cosmog. Do you not like his design? Come on, look how
I love Cosmog. I absolutely love Cosmog. I think it's fantastic. I think Nebby is great. I think the fact that it evolves into the legendary and we had it from the beginning, not even as a legendary, it was a surprise. We didn't just get a motorcycle. Sorry, spoilers for later. I think Nebby's fantastic. Should have stayed in the bag.
Should have stayed in the bag. Okay,
the whole story wouldn't have happened. The whole story wouldn't have happened. And you know what winds me up? Is we go and we save Lily off that bridge. Tapu Koko has to come and save us. And all Nebby has to do is stay in the bag. We go down the stairs. The very next second, we're in front of everyone in town. It jumps out and it's like, da, 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 da. It's like, oh, well, I guess the secret's out now. Ha, 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 ha. It's like, no.
Because you're telling off a baby. This is a baby Pokemon. Like, this
good,
is
and
like
I hate kids.
Togepi and all them. That's fine, but you can't. How would you feel if a puppy was in the bag? The puppy would want to be out of the bag. You wouldn't punish the puppy.
The puppy would do what it was told because dogs are good boys. Nebby's not. Nebby's a bad dog.
So, okay, right. Okay, let's say we keep Nebby just for argument's sake in F tier, which he definitely doesn't deserve to be in, by the way. Where the hell do you put Cosmome? Because Cosmome is worse in every single way than Cosmog.
I agree. So F tier.
Like, you can't. No,
Dude,
you can't.
I did. You gave me the power of the list. It is for me to choose when I compromise and for me to choose when I say no.
That's going to be controversial.
Good. Comment below. Let me know your thoughts.
Hold on. So where the heck are you putting the evolutions of these? There's no way they go in F tier as well.
No, Solgaleo's an S tier and Luna's probably an A.
Okay, right. Let's talk about why are they the rankings you've given them? Because now your whole ranking system is skewed, and I don't know what to trust anymore.
Well, these didn't have to stay in the bag. They got big enough and strong enough they didn't have to stay in the bag anymore. In fact, they take us for a ride. They take us through Ultra Space, and for that, they're cool. Ultra Space alone raises these up in my mind. I just think that Solgaleo is a better design than the Moonbat. I know it's completely subjective, but so is this entire tier list.
Yeah, it's strange, really, because like a lot of the other legendaries that are pairing off against one another, they go for typically there's some kind of common theme between them. What's the common theme between a cat and a bat, other than the fact one is kind of shaped like the moon and one of them is kind of shaped like the sun? These are the two that, for me, just... I love their designs. I love their implementation. I love the fact that you evolve Cosmog into this. I love what you can do with them. But I still, for my life, cannot understand why these are the Sun and Moon mascots.
Or even more so, they're technically evolutions of the same Pokemon.
Well, that's the other thing. Like, Cosmog into Lunala, I can kind of see.
Yeah.
But Cosmog into Solgaleo, I
do you know what?
I can't see.
Solgaleo almost reminds me of, like, I don't know if you ever watched Gen 2 of Digimon, but the armor evolutions.
Yeah, yes, I can see that, yeah. It's Meowth. That's Meowth's armor evolution, isn't it?
Armor Digivolve.
So we've got to put these somewhere. I like them both. Lunala is definitely the weaker of the two designs, unfortunately. Which is a shame because there's a lot about Lunala that I want to like, but I just don't think it comes together as well as I want it to, unfortunately. But I must admit, riding Lunala I prefer over Solgaleo.
Oh, see, now I love the idea of just a big lion running through the sky.
That boggles my mind, though, because what's it running on? At least a flying Pokemon I can kind of understand.
It's running on sheer willpower, because it's badass, and there's nothing you can do about it. In fact, its sheer willpower is going to push it into S tier, and there's nothing you can do about it. So
is Lunala going in A tier? Because for me, it's B tier.
Oh, you think it's B tier?
I actually think it's B tier, which might be controversial.
As I say, access to Ultra Space, I think, boosts them up.
Boosts it. Okay, I'm fine with that. The only thing with Solgaleo as well is wish they'd been a bit braver with the colours. Like, throw more yellow in there. If it's supposed to be the sun, throw more yellow in there.
But the sun's not yellow.
But yeah. Throw more orange in there.
The sun's not orange.
What is it? Red?
It's white.
What? Is it?
It gives
off just the UV.
It gives off white light, doesn't it? That's why all things we see, like, it gives off white light.
When we see the sun on like documentaries and stuff, it's always orange.
Yeah, but you're seeing it through a blue filter.
If you're a scientist, let us know in the comments down below. What color is the sun?
I was going to
We want to
Google
know.
it, but I'll mess up the screen even further.
No, let's not mess up the screen even further. Right. Okay. So, Necrozma. Oh, I've just realized the Ultra Beasts aren't in here. Do you count them as legendaries?
I don't know. I think they are their own thing.
Okay.
That being said, I kind of count these two as Ultra Beasts. But anyway, that's a different argument. I think Necrozma, okay, and I'm going to be straight up front here, and I'm happy to hear you argue. I think it is a straight S tier for being our first real boss fight.
Yes. I can agree that Necrozma has ended many runs and is a very powerful Pokemon. I love its fusions as well. They've definitely grown on me.
I love that cutscene where it just wrecks them as well.
I know. Like, it's the first time that, like, typically when you get a legendary Pokemon, it's like, oh yeah, we're good. This is the first time we went, oh, how strong is this thing if a legendary can't, like,
it was like an anime fight as well, where they're just yeeting each other into buildings and.
Yeah, I need to go back and watch. That's been so long.
It just grabs him by the throat and absorbs him as well.
Yeah, it's like actually quite brutal when you think about it for a child's game. I'm not a fan of Necrozma's base form, but I think there's enough about it that we could push it into S tier. I'm not going to try and drag it down to A.
Why do you not like its base form?
I just don't. I know it's supposed to be like this prism, and funnily enough, my current friend on my current partner on Pokemon Go is Necrozma. Funnily enough, but the more I see the behind of its head and everything, the more I think, I just don't like this design. I don't like the whole. I just don't like how janky and everything it looks.
But is Necrozma meant to make you feel comfortable?
No, I guess not. I guess it's meant to make you feel uncomfortable. Whacked in S. Listen, I'm not gonna argue about lowering it out of S tier. I'm just stating my preference that I'm not a fan of its base form.
Are we counting Meltan?
Is Meltan a legendary? It's got to be, right? It's not mythical because you can get it quite easily. Is it even a legendary? I don't. According to Bulbapedia, Meltan is a Steel-type mythical Pokemon introduced during Generation 7. So we're not answering that question here.
On to the doggos then.
Oh, Doggo, Zacian's straight S tier, and if you argue with me, I might quit the podcast. He's a good boy. He's got amazing typing. He's got great cutscenes in terms of that 4-on-1 battle that I have raved about. Probably my top Pokemon moment. I don't know what more to say about that Pokemon. It's phenomenal. I love it.
It's the dog with a sword. Straight S tier. That's always going to be.
Yeah.
Shield face Doggo, though,
isn't a stronger design, I will admit. It's one of those weird ones, actually, where I actually think Zamazenta's base form is better than its complete form, because you've still got those shield and armor elements, but they haven't taken to the extreme where it goes, oh, this is a little bit overkill now, unfortunately. But I still think it's a great design, and I would comfortably put it in A tier.
I lean more towards B, but I am happy to accept that that's because I compare it so heavily with Zamazenta. Sorry, Zacian.
Yeah.
I think it is, when you put the two together, it's infinitely weaker. I think on its own, I don't mind it.
Good. Okay.
So,
don't mind it.
Yeah, okay.
A.
A. All right, I'll give you
A tier. Don't you dare try and put it into B. Eternatus. Oh boy, this thing. Grown on me over time.
Yeah, I don't think the boss fight boost that I gave to Necrozma stands quite as strong here, because it's not really your fight. You're just kind of there.
No, you are in that 4-on-1 boss fight. You are basically on the level of Hop. The two dogs are there because they need to be there. You and Hop are just kind of like, yeah, let's go.
I called them here. That makes me cool.
Yeah,
like, shut up. You
exactly. It's
You've
like,
got a sheep out. What are you doing?
Yes. He starts with blooming double of all things. I think there's a lot to love about this Pokemon. It is annoying that it got Dragon Poison, because we got that in Generation 7 with... Actually, we've had it in a couple of generations. I would have loved to have seen I would have loved to see something unique. And you know what? This is one of those Pokemon. It's very rare that there's a Pokemon that you just think it needs its own typing. It almost feels like it needs like an energy typing, which is just for this Pokemon. It has its own unique gimmick. It just doesn't feel like Poison fits it. Dragon, again, like, I don't really think either of its typings fit it quite well outside of its moveset and how it looks. It's just one of those annoying things where, we've got to show that it's powerful. Right, well, if it's got to be powerful, it's either got to be Psychic or Dragon. And it's really annoying, actually, that that's the case with this, because it feels like it's elevated above them, because it is such a threat when you look at like the fact that Leon couldn't beat it, when you look at its Eternamax form and the fact that it takes a 4-on-1 battle to bring this thing down. It feels like and I guess the point I'm getting at is it's really strong in its typing, its design, its functionality, but it's not enough to push it into the S tier for me, as much as I think there should be more to it that does push it into S tier.
So I can't remember, but I'm pretty sure that we lowered Suicune down because Go caught one.
Yeah. Hold on. Did Go catch this in the anime?
Yes,
I'm trying to remember.
Yes, he did.
Oh, Go, you... Yeah, But then in the game, you catch it?
Yep, and you catch it in any Pokeball.
Yeah. Oof. But dude, so where are you saying we put this?
I don't know.
Andy gets Dynamax cannon. Oh.
But the thing is, I only like its base form. I don't like its Eternamax form. I think it loses all sense of what it's supposed to be and just becomes Big Skyhand.
See, I like its Eternamax form, but I don't like the fact that they feel a little bit disconnected.
Yeah.
I think that's the problem. I think they should have had one or the other. That's what they should have gone for. And I think by trying to go for both, it weakens it slightly, unfortunately.
I find it hard to put it lower than A, though.
Yeah, I think it's A, and it's annoying because it feels like they were so close to an S on this thing.
Yeah. Kubfu.
Okay.
Kubfu is a legendary.
It is. Really cute, which is quite rare for a legendary Pokemon. Side of Cosmog. Which definitely on F2.
You said it should be on the level of Cosmog.
I did not say that at all, and you know it. I love it. I love the fact that when we meet it in the game, it actually has like a cutscene where it's like jumping around and punching and everything, so it adds a little bit of character to it as well. I love that it can evolve into 2 different forms.
Should it be a legendary Pokemon, though?
No, it shouldn't be a legendary Pokemon. This feels like a common encounter in any other region. But because it was introduced...
It's effectively the starter of the Isle of Armor.
Yeah. I mean, for me, I don't think it should be classed as legendary, but unfortunately, Bulbapedia says it's a legendary and it's on this tier list, so I think they have to do it, unfortunately. I think there's a lot to love there, but I still don't think it's a B tier.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think
there's not.
It's better than fine because again, it is cute. It's got a story based around it. We love it, but
yeah,
that's kind of it. Now, I know we said the forms weren't going to be in this, but these are technically two different. They got two different types.
It has got two different types, and we have to consider the Gigantamax forms, which I think are infinitely better designs than
Yes.
just the generic black and white fighting bear. The Gigantamax styles are phenomenal. I love the designs. A little bit annoying that we've gone for fighting and dark and fighting and water where we've had it before, but unfortunately, Gen 8 at this point, we're running out of unique typings. Unfortunately.
I know, but we've had a dark and fighting bear. That's the problem.
Yeah, we have actually, haven't we? Yeah.
Wait, is Pangoro? Yeah, no, Pangoro is dark and fighting.
Yeah. I think so. No, I'm not sure.
I'm pretty sure Pancham's fighting type and then becomes dark fighting.
Do you think these are, I want to say over-designed? Overhyped is maybe the word I'm looking for.
They're very strong and they do really well in competitive. A lot of that is down to their stupid signature moves, though, which are very much a cause of power creep. This idea that, we're just going to have this move that just breaks through protect. That thing that's supposed to not be broken. Oh, and this move just crits all the time.
Yeah, it's a little bit busted, isn't it? I mean, I do like the uniqueness of it, but it definitely feels like power creep, as you mentioned. And for me, like, I remember these cards coming out when in the Pokemon TCG, and they just seem to be everywhere. And I just got a little bit, bit of oversaturation with these two, unfortunately. Again, that's why, personally, for me, they're B tier. I think that maybe if they weren't as overhyped, and maybe if their evolved forms maybe had a bit more color, like their Gigantamax forms, I could have seen them in A, but unfortunately, I think for me, these are B, both of them.
Yeah, I'll give it to you.
Okay.
Mythical's rude, so we're on to the new Reggies. Okay, let's start this way. Do you prefer the new Reggies to the old Reggies?
It's annoying, really. I do prefer the design of the new two, but I must admit that what annoys me is the fact that they don't share the same kind of style as the other Reggies. Does that make sense? Like, the other three all have the same kind of body proportions. These two kind of don't.
No, they just got big arms.
Yeah. And it really annoys me that that's the case, because I think that these two are way better designs than the original trio. But I think I have to deduct marks for the fact that they've gone, these are Reggies. But, well, hold on. You haven't followed some of the same design principles of the original Reggies.
Yeah, you're right. Regigigas does blend in a lot better than these two do.
Yeah, and the thing that annoys me with Regidrago is the fact that the Pokedex states that it ran out of energy to complete its transformation. So it's like, well, how big was this Pokemon going to be? If that's the head, then if it was fully complete, then it's definitely not going to look like the other Reggies. So why is it a Reggie at all?
Yeah.
And I
like the idea that Reggies are just... They are an amalgamation of whatever is around. I don't know. I kind of wish we got a little bit more about these.
Yeah, we didn't get a lot, did we?
There was definitely more mystery and things involved in the original Reggies. That's not to say there was none with the new Reggies. I still remember running around and biking up to the temple and doing a few things, but it wasn't massive amounts, was it?
No, there wasn't a load. You find the temple and then there's a couple of patterns on the floor. You have to do the patterns. And in a playthrough, you have to choose one of the two, meaning you have to either do a second playthrough or a trade to get the other one.
There was something to get through the door, though, right?
Yeah, so it was very similar in terms of the original Reggies where there was a puzzle. So one of them, I think you had to bring a cryogonal.
Yeah.
Because it asks you, like, I will open when it snows or something like that. So you bring the cryogonal, and then I think you whistle or spin or something, and then it opens the door. I can't remember the other one.
Oh yeah.
Again, I like the fact that they flowed that through as well, making you do a little bit of legwork for legendaries. Always appreciated. These two, it's really annoying actually because they're definitely higher than the Regis, and I want to put them into B because I love their design, and I think they have more use than the original Regis in battle. But at the same time, I've already made. Yeah,
it is the fastest Pokemon.
Exactly, so it's busted. But at the same time, I'm like, just on principle, I feel like they should be in the same category as the other Regis because you didn't follow the.
I will counter your argument. Regigigas was going to be put higher, and we dragged it down because of its ability. So we're saying these are higher, but you want to drag them down because they don't match up with the other ones, which we have said are just fine. Like, if you're going to give us new versions of something, should they not be cooler? If you're going to add to something, why not make it better than the original? Rather than just give... Would you have preferred these to be worse designed? Would you have rated these higher if they were worse designed?
No, but I think the annoyance with me is, like, these two that added, they've definitely got that aesthetic of there seems to be a core to them. You know, Regieleki has that core, the electric's flowing out, Regidrago has that red core. And it's like, well, that design isn't there in the other three, or at least it's hidden below everything else. So maybe those cores are there in those three. Well, in that case, maybe, you know, in the game, or the lore or whatever, you should have gone, oh, okay, maybe you get to see some of those core for the other three before they're finished. But then these two don't get to finish, which is why the designs are slightly different. Whereas at the moment, all it feels like is, oh, let's just make two new Regis. Should we use the same design style? No, do whatever you want, but you've still got to whack Reggie on it. And I think that lowers them for me because they're just Reggie in name only, not design.
Okay. I can't really argue with that.
And it's annoying.
It feels bad.
These two.
It feels bad.
Yeah, it does. It does. They should be higher, but I think that they lose marks for just, you know, being. If they'd have been called anything else, no relation to Reggie, I would have gone, yeah, straight into B tier. Love everything about them.
Horsies and Mindjacker.
What?
Horsies and the Mindjacker.
Horsies and the Mindjacker. Glastria, take it or leave it. I should like that. There's a lot to like about its design.
I think I prefer its design to Spectrier. Maybe that's just this specific sprite, but I do kind of like it.
You know what's really annoying? Don't give us two versions. Combine these two versions, make it Ice Ghost. Infinitely better. I like the fact.
But then, which one do you get rid of when Calyrex jumps on?
Wow, yeah, good point. I don't know. Glastria I do prefer over Spectria so much more. I would say, I think B and C. So B for Glastria. C for Calyrex. Not Calyrex. Spectria. And then Calyrex is a weird one. It's like, so weird. Like, it's gone.
It gave us a story. We keep complaining that legendary Pokemon don't have stories, and this one definitely did.
Did you enjoy the humor where it takes over the mind of
no, I thought it was funnier without
Peony.
Yeah,
about the mind jacking and all that.
I would have actually really enjoyed it if Peony just kind of understood it for some reason. I think that would have been funnier.
Yeah. Oh, I still don't know about its design. I get what they're going for, and it's really annoying me because on some levels it works. But then on other levels, I kind of go, what were they thinking with its long legs that looks like it's wearing bloody hold-ups? Oh, it's weird.
How else is it going to ride a horse? That's the problem with
don't
it. Is
know.
I think they went right.
Yeah.
We need to have a crown. Let's have a look at the crown jewels in England. Okay, it's got this big puffy bit in the middle, so we'll include that. What else? Oh, it's got to ride a horse. Well, we got this big head. We want it to be like a forest guardian, so it's like a deer thing. But it's also going to ride a horse, so it needs long enough legs to be able to ride a horse. Well, how's it going to walk around on that? No, don't worry about that. It's going to be psychic, so it levitates, so we don't have to animate its legs moving.
Oh, this thing is so weird. It's so weird.
I find it hard to
the
put it
more
out
I look,
B tier, though. I don't like its design, and I don't like the fact that you basically never ever run this thing on its own. Like, that's the thing. You could run Spectrier and Glastrier on their own. There's a reason to. You would never run this on its own.
No. Oh, no, I, you know what? Yeah, like say, did you say B tier or C tier?
I said B. Because of the story.
You can put it in B. Yeah, you can put it in B, but it has to be a low B. Like, this thing doesn't jump above some of the others. Okay, who have we got next?
Amoris. Is that his name?
Yeah, it is.
Amorous,
it is.
yeah.
I must admit, the first time I saw this, I was just like, what am I looking at? And then I saw its other form, and I was like, yeah, you've completely missed the mark on this. I know it's the love-hate Pokemon, but... F, yeah, F. There's not enough there to drag it out.
It's cool.
Flying. Okay.
It's cool that it's the first female genie. It's cool that it's an addition to the genies in such a weird place to have them.
Yeah. Why is this in a completely different region as well?
No idea.
No.
Moving on to Gen 9. I'm going to put my foot down now and say we're just not doing the Paradox Pokemon. If we're not doing the Ultra Beast, we're not doing the Paradox Pokemon.
Yeah. Agreed. I completely agree there. So we're starting with Wo-Chien.
Oh, God. Your guess is better than mine. I know Chien-Pao.
Yeah,
that's about it.
Okay, so Wo-Chien's the first one. So it's the dark grass slug with the weird eyes.
It is a meme.
Who is it? Oh, I didn't know that.
Have you not seen the meme?
No.
It's very good.
Oh, I'm going to have a quick gander right while you tell us what you think of this Pokemon.
It's odd. I like that it's basically a book, effectively, that became a snail.
Yeah.
I think this was also the first ruined Pokemon I actually found. So this one is very distinctly has that background music, which is very cool.
Oh,
some
phenomenal.
of the best music in that game.
Yeah.
That's synchronized with this Pokemon for me. I think it's been quite useful in a fair few raids as well. Wo-Chien has been one of the Pokemon that has been like high tier. Oh, I like it. I think it's an A tier. I think it's fun.
Yeah, you know what? I'm happy with 80. I was going to say I would love a bit more color on it, especially because it's got the leaves, so you could go with something autumny, so it's a lot more color in it, but I'm not going to let my personal preference drag that thing down.
I mean, you wouldn't see it anyway because it's camouflaged.
Well, yeah, and you know what? I love the names of these Pokemon as well.
Yeah.
Love them. So cool, so unique. The battle music, like you've mentioned, is phenomenal. Some really unique abilities as well. A tier.
Chien-Pao is S tier. It is an S tier Pokemon in design.
I agree.
In competitive Pokemon, it is the best one out of this quartet. It's just S tier.
Yeah, you will hear the fact that its like mouth has those like daggers that are frozen. Oh, phenomenal!
It is a saber-toothed tiger. Literally.
Yeah, it's great. So Ting Lu is up next. Oh, this is you know what? I do like its design because it is so unique, so weird. There's a lot to love about this Pokemon. I love the fact that it's like its color tone is obviously different layers of rock, like in the ground, obviously. I love what its headpiece as well and what they've kind of gone for. I love this design.
Do you want me to make it even better for you?
Go on.
Ting Lu was the only Pokemon to ever make Fissure a viable competitive move.
Really? Why?
Because it just sat there and just tanked hits, and it's like, oh, that's fine. I'll just sit here and keep clicking Fissure. Eventually, I'll get you. And there's nothing you can do about it.
Its HP is ridiculous. What?
Yes.
Hold on.
Just sat there. It was like, I'll just keep clicking Fissure.
I've never seen this on Bulbapedia before, but they've got different stats for the versions of the game. They actually had to lower its HP from version 1.00 to 1.01.
Wow.
Because it must have been so busted in terms of this thing is just tanking attacks. And I get why, because its HP is so high, because it has so many weaknesses. It has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 weaknesses is ridiculous.
And a bunch of those at least fighting will be quad, and that's not great. It is rock, isn't it? Or is it ground?
No, it's ground. So fighting's only.
Okay.
It has no quad weaknesses, but it also has 2 immunities in electric and psychic. So this thing, yeah, I can. Okay, yeah. Are we saying A tier then?
I think we can say A tier.
We can say A tier. Okay.
Well, the list is getting big.
Yeah, Chi-Yu, which is the goldfish. Go on.
I like it because it's a fire fish. And I like it because it's a really small goldfish. And it just... I wasn't expecting it. And I like it for that reason.
Yeah. This was one of those Pokemon where I saw it online before I saw it in the game. And I didn't like it until, like you say, you see it in the game. It's this cute little thing.
And the first thing it shows up is... And for those of you who didn't see that because you're listening online, like it just wiggles its tail at you and bounces up.
It's so cute.
It's swimming in the air. Plus, I also love the idea that, there's the mountains that are like volcanic black.
Yeah.
There's a theory that that's created by Chi-Yu.
Oh. Okay.
So
I like that.
Although we don't we hear stories about like Regigigas moved the continents. Well, no, and now we can actually see that Chi-Yu shaped the land beneath it.
Yeah. I like that a lot. It'd be interesting to know, like, are these legendary Pokemon because they are one of a kind, or legendary because they're one of a kind in this region?
So I'm pretty sure they're not Pokemon that have been brought over from a different region. These are effectively evil spirits that have manifested from gifts that were given. So they were gifts that were given to the King of Paldea, or the Monarch of Paldea. Yeah. I think it was an emperor. The Paldean Emperor, I believe. It was gifts given to him, and then greed and everything else just ended up corrupting them effectively.
Ooh,
but the fact that these Pokemon effectively also hint towards a Chinese region that we have not seen yet. So cool.
I love that. Yeah, agreed. Right, we're gonna have to like quick fire these last couple of Pokemon. So
we go A for Chi-Yu then?
Yep, I completely agree. Right. Koraidon. Dragon Bites. Koraidon's design is the one I thought was the weakest, and the more I've seen it, the more I think it's the strongest. I love how just how brave that design is with the feathers and the flowing mane and everything. And I actually, the more I've seen it run as well, I'm like, oh, actually, yeah, I kind of like that design. In fact, you know what? I think Koraidon is S tier. Miraidon is somewhere between A and S for me.
Okay, we'll go S and A because I definitely prefer Koraidon.
Yeah.
I think Miraidon's fine.
So annoyingly, every Pokemon game I've ever had, I've been happy with the version I've chosen. This is the first one where I've gone, I chose the wrong version.
See, whereas this is the first game where I bought both copies because I was convinced there was going to be more changes in there. Because why would they give us two different professors if we weren't going to get two different stories?
Ooh. Okay, so now we're on to the
trio.
Loyal 3. The trio. I think this is going to be one of them where we split them up. I think Pheasantipity. I think Pheasantipity is a better design overall than the other two.
I like Hokey Dokey.
I
my dog bias is always going to show through there, isn't it?
Yeah. So, okay, so are we both in agreement then that Monkey Dory is the weakest of the three in terms of just ranking?
Yes.
Yeah.
I was going to say C. I was going to say C, but actually looking at its design again, might even be D, you know? Now, that being said, it looks better in 3D than it does in sprites. I remember seeing the sprite initially and then saw it in game and was like, oh, I don't hate it that much. But I don't like
I think it's C, but a low C. I think it's just edging into C, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Okay. So now we've got the other two. I think, you know what? I'd be happy with both of these going into B.
Yeah.
But it's a comfortable B. I don't think they've just like inched in. I think that they're comfortably in there.
Do you know what? Part of me wants to put them in A, but I think back to what their story actually was.
They
didn't move. There you go. That's my issue with these Pokemon is they didn't move around the region.
Yeah, which they should have done. There should have been more to them other than you track them down.
Yeah, if they were like the Galarian birds.
Yeah.
And you went to an area and had to chase them around whilst they caused mischief. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Definitely. Okay.
Ogerpon.
Ogerpon.
Now I know, we're gonna get shivved if we put her any lower than S. Ogerpon has some diehard fans.
Okay, I think it's S tier anyway for a couple of reasons. One, just its overall cuteness. B, it's a legendary Pokemon with a story and quite a good story, and heartbreaking as well. The utility of the masks allowing you to play it in different play styles, and the fact that just an extra bonus point by the fact that if you bring this into I always forget the Blueberry Academy, and you face off against your rival, and it goes, you dare bring that here? You dare? Like, phenomenal. This for me is an S tier, regardless of the threats that I may or may not be receiving.
It is competitively been a staple as well, so we will give it that. These are form changes. These are all form changes. Terrapagos.
Is it Terrapagos?
I remember saying when we did our review of Blueberry Academy that I hated this fight. It was a hard fight, but it wasn't a fun hard fight.
No, wasn't.
It was a case of like, you have to terrestrialize to do anything to me, but as soon as you terrestrialize, I'm super effective against you, no matter what type you are.
Yep.
Okay.
What's annoying about this is I think back to all the other late game legendaries, and you at least get to use them. Like Eternatus, for example. You get it, and then you can at least use it against Leon. With this thing, it is literally the last thing you do in that generation. So what is there to do with that game?
If you're anything like me, you find out that the multiverse exists.
What do you do? Then what do you do with it? For me, Pokemon Home. I haven't done anything with it.
Mewtwo, though. Mewtwo's the very last thing you do in the game.
It is, but maybe this is me as a kid. I continued beating the Elite Four, completing the Pokedex, and just having that Pokemon with me. And there was a lot more around with Mewtwo because obviously it had the movie as well. And maybe it was a bit of that, when you were younger, you had to do a lot of the exploring on your own and things weren't given to you on, guides and YouTube channels and stuff like that. Whereas this, I just think
we haven't watched Horizons yet, though.
Yes, true.
This is a major part of Horizons. It is linked with the main character.
Yeah. And what annoys me with this is I think that you had the opportunity with it, its unique terrestrialization ability to really shift up the meta and just potentially change Pokemon.
It introduced the stellar type, which is
but
bad.
Are we going to see that? Yeah, Are we going to see that again after this generation? Probably not. So what's the point of it? Is this a Pokemon that actually Gen 10 comes out and it's like, oh, you can only play the normal form because the other two are a lot behind functionality?
It'll always get its big turtle form. It just won't get its world turtle.
Okay. See, this is another one where why has it got two forms?
Marketing.
Or three forms, but what? Yeah.
I can almost guarantee you that its baby form is only for marketing and only for the anime.
Yeah. Which does that mean we mark it down? I think it does.
Do you hate its design though?
I hate its normal form, but I must admit I do like its terrestrialized form, the turtle. I'd be happy if that was just it.
Right. Okay. So sorry, you say it's terrestrialized form. Its terrestrialized form is the world turtle.
Yeah.
It's battle.
The one in the middle. Yeah, it's battle form. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Where are we putting this thing then?
There's so much wrapped up with this Pokemon. This Pokemon symbolizes to me so much unanswered questions and disappointment.
Are you going lower than... I was going to suggest C, but that sounds like you want to go lower than C.
I want to put it in B, honestly, but it just suddenly hit me how much this Pokemon actually annoyed me and how much diving into Area Zero again and seeing the crystal tree that was just unanswered. None of it was answered.
Yeah, I remember that. No,
what is the crystal tree? What is the stellar typing? Where has this Pokemon come from? Has it always been here? Has it always been underground? Is it from the future? Is it from the past? Why can it travel through time? Why can it travel through different universes? Is this the Pokemon that killed the professor? Was it actually Koraidon? Nobody actually knows anything, and thus I will move it from B into C.
Okay, but some of those questions might be answered in the anime. Some might be answered in a potential remake one day down the line. Annoyingly, they should have been answered in Generation 9.
Yeah, we should definitely watch Horizons, by the way. The animation looks phenomenal.
I've seen a few clips that have started appearing on Reddit and Twitter, and it looks good. It looks really good. Okay, right. So that is the tier list wrapped up.
No, Pecharunt.
That's mythical, right?
You get it in a main game?
Yeah, it doesn't say
it would
mythical
be mythical. It would be mythical because you had to get a special item in order to encounter it.
It doesn't say on... What's really annoying is on Bulbapedia, it doesn't say if it's a mythical or... on Pokemon Database, it says it's mythical.
Yeah, because you needed a special DLC downloadable item in order to activate the event. Yeah, I guess it would be mythical.
Mythical Pokemon.
You are saved my wrath, Pecharunt.
Oh, I'm looking forward to doing a what's it tier list, a mythical one.
Tier list.
Definitely.
There you go. So for our listeners at home, we will just rattle these off real quick.
Go for it.
So S tier, we have Galarian, Zapdos, Mewtwo, Rayquaza, Dialga, Giratina, Solgaleo, Necrozma, Zacian, Chien-Pao. Oh, come on, I was doing so well. Koraidon, and Ogerpon.
Yeah.
A tier, you have Galarian, Articuno, Zapdos, Lugia, Ho-Oh, Latios, and Latias, whichever order they're in. Groudon, Lunala, Zamazenta, Eternatus,
Tinglu, Wenchao, Wenchien, something like that, and Tinglu. I can't
three quartets.
The other three.
And Miraidon. And then B, you've got Articuno, Galarian Moltres, Entei, Suicune, Kyogre, Palkia, Cresselia,
Reshiram,
and Zekrom, and Kyurem, and Xerneas, and Yveltal, and Zygarde. Wow, we really did just dump on all those legendaries in that row, didn't we?
I know, right?
Type Null in there. God, I'm Silvally. Do you know what? I know all of these Pokemon's name, but I haven't doing it in quick order. It's hard. Tapu Koko, Kubfu, both forms of Urshifu, Glastrier, Calyrex,
King Arthur, whatever it's Calyrex, that's the one.
Calyrex, Okidogi, and Pheasantipity. Then it's C tier. We're gonna go quick. Right, we got Raikou, Regirock, Reggie Ice, Reggie Steel, Regigigas, Cobalion, Terrakion, Virizion, Landorus, Thundurus, Tapu Lele, Tapu Bulu, Tapu Fini, Regieleki, Regidrago, Spectrier, Monkey Dory, and
we just did this. You got it.
Terrapagos. In D, it's Original Moltres, Heatran, and Tornadus. And in F tier, we have Mesprit, Azelf, and Uxie. We have Cosmoem. We have Amoris. And yes, you're right. Despite the fact that Nebby ever stayed in the bag, it was also never going to stay in F tier, was it?
Yeah, he's back in S where it belongs. Oh, fantastic. That's the show for this week. If you've gotten this far, you're just a top dollar, aren't you? Especially as this is probably 2 hours long at this point. Before you go, we'd really appreciate if you could leave a review on the podcast platform of your choice. If you're watching on YouTube, then please leave a like, as it really helps out the podcast. Conor, where can we find you?
You can find me on my YouTube channel at Captain Fidget, or here on the podcast.
Ace! I'm Ben. You can find me as Professor Hoenn Gaming on YouTube and Professor Hoenn on Twitter. We'll be back next Friday for another week of Pokemon podcast content.
See ya!